Last Saturday night, we went up to Patton Avenue for the first Hot Rod Reunion Cruise-In of the year. Our good friend, Doug King, I call him the mayor of hot rodding. He's been kind of somewhat facilitating these shows, or kind of coordinating, letting people know when he's planning to have a group of people there. And this one was pretty special. And so it was... it just had a different energy to it, even than what it felt like the past couple years that we've been doing that. And it was fully my intention to go up there and kind of do maybe some interviews or talking to different people with the camera, and maybe showing off their cars or different things like that. But it didn't end up working out that way, just because I just ended up talking to so many people that I hadn't met before, some that I had met. And they were telling me different stories or telling me about their cars and stuff like that, and I just ended up not videoing. I was just kind of, when you do the stuff that we do with the YouTube stuff, sometimes people freeze up whenever you bring out a camera, and to be honest, sometimes you just don't want to take out a camera. You want to kind of like take in that moment, kind of live in the moment, is what people would say, right? You want to just kind of sit there and absorb it, and I'm really glad that's what we ended up doing on Saturday night. But we did end up getting a little bit of footage, just a quick walk around of the show, and then my buddy Colin over at the Daily Misfire, he got some really cool drone footage of some of the cars and trucks going down the road, some of the show itself. So I didn't want to waste that. I wanted to make sure that it was shown off because I know that Colin used it in one of his videos talking about the Camaro and things like that I'll link in here, because I want to give him full credit on that drone footage. So I'll go ahead and link that in here also. So make sure, if you follow us, to follow Colin, because he's going to be hanging out with us a lot, I think, here going forward. And so you're going to want to follow him and make sure you check it out. But first off here, let's jump into it. I want to show the walk around of the lot and kind of just show everybody's cars off. And please jump into the comments and tell us if it's yours, where you're from, if you have your own socials that you're doing similar stuff that we are, or have a YouTube channel or social medias. Put those in the comments, and let's everybody help everybody out. Everybody that's working in this world and doing the social media stuff and YouTube, make sure to do that. So jump into our comments, throw all of your information in there, and then everybody go follow those people. And I think that we can kind of make this into a really good collective of people. So first off, we're going to go and just check out all the cars going around the lot here. And this wasn't all of them. There was a lot that came, after dark and things like that too. So I didn't get everybody, but I think I got a pretty good percentage of them. So the next ones of these Patton Avenue cruises, I hope I have people coming up to me and telling me, hey, I've got a story to tell you that I want you to tell in one of your videos. I give you guys full credit on those stories. Or maybe you don't want credit on some of the stories, I don't know. But I want you guys to feel comfortable coming up to me and telling me that. Or if you want to be in a video, I would absolutely love that. It makes my job a lot easier if you guys come up to me and say, hey, I want to do this, because if we don't know each other that well, I hate just grabbing a camera and sticking it in your face. So I would really love to have some people that do that. So I'm gonna get Dad in here and get him to tell a couple of his favorite stories, or maybe some, not all of them. I'm gonna get him to tell a couple, and then maybe going forward at each one of these shows, we can do this. And as we all get to know each other better, we can work together, make some better videos, so that everybody can kind of show off their builds, show off their cars, and again, let's kind of get that old Patton Avenue community back together to where everybody's working in one spot. And it would be awesome if we can help facilitate that and kind of make that this kind of the hub of all of that going forward. So let's get Dad in here.
Well, Jake started talking about this Patton Avenue stuff, and we was talking, and he was asking me, or suggested that I may talk about the first time I went to Patton Avenue. And I'll be fair with you, it's been so far back I kind of got foggy, but kind of got me thinking today. My wife was looking through some stuff. She was cleaning some stuff out, and she found an old bill where I had bought a 65 Comet. And that kind of got me remembering that old car. It was a small block 4-speed car. It ran okay. No big hero stuff, but ended up putting a 410 gear in it. And I honestly cannot remember the first time I went up there, but one of the first things I can remember is I had that old car in town, and somebody kind of picked at me, and I'd never really got involved in it. And this was so slow and so calm, it couldn't really be considered a street race, but a guy jumped on me and we ran, and I thought, man, this is pretty fun. So that was one of the first things. But a lot of the guys, there's some of them still around now. I just remember some of the earlier times I went up there. We was all just alike. Everybody just wanted to fool with an old car, and it was pretty easy to hit off of them guys because we all had like interests. And I was trying to learn. Some of them knew more than I did. About all of them knew more than I did, but we just kind of, it sort of hit it off, just like you run into people that you maybe never even met before, but you've got such common interests that it's easy to get to hanging around with them. So I guess it's one of the earliest things that I remember about going to Patton Avenue. we were talking about some of the early things on. We was going to Patton Avenue. This kind of related to that. I spent quite a bit of time on Patton with that. I had an old Ford truck, and went through several different modifications, if you want to call it that. But at one point, we'd got a pretty respectable. Fred Miller fixed me a set of cylinder heads for that thing. He poured in a set of old cast iron. I hated even asking him to do it, but he did. I guess he thought I needed it, all the help I could get or whatever. But he poured in me a set of cylinder heads. Major ended up helping me put an engine together, and it ran fairly, compared to the other engines that was in that truck, it ran fairly good. Well, me and my dad put a set of, poor daddy would help me do anything, but we put a set of, I guess you call them leaf link bars at the time. It's kind of a hobo 4-link or whatever you want to call it, but what it amounted to was Chevrolet trailing arm bushings, Chevrolet truck trailing arm bushings, mounted, welded in 2 pieces of tubing on a single tube that went above on the upper side of the axle housing to the upper spring mount, running parallel with the ground. And that, I know it sounds goofy, but it had enough give in it. The truck didn't have a lot of suspension travel in it, but it had enough give in it so that it would not wheel hop. That truck would wheel hop so bad, that's part of what broke several rear ends in it. But I talked Dad into fixing this set of leaf links or whatever you want to call them, and it worked. I mean, it worked. That truck would spin as far as it would spin and never hopped. So during that process, I talked Dad. I said, "Come on, go for a ride this thing. You can see what we're working on." Well, he wasn't really excited about it, but he got in with me anyway. So I got down in front of the house, and I stood on it pretty hard in low gear and pulled it to second, and I turned it about 6,800 in second gear, and the motor just shut off, just absolutely shut off. And I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea what had happened. It wasn't unusual for that thing to do that. It quit a lot, it broke a lot, so I didn't know what. This was a little different, felt a little different, so it was a new experience. But I just happened to glance down, and the switch was off. The key switch was off. And Dad, I'd been kind of paying attention to driving, and I hadn't noticed. Dad reached over and just cut that key off. And when I looked over at him, he was looking at me, and he said, "They ain't cutting me out of this thing." So must have ran enough to get his attention, ran good enough to get his attention. So things like that's things that you remember.
So that's what I have in mind. I'm hoping that each time that we kind of do this and we kind of go up there, since it's so hard at car shows, at least for me, to kind of get footage and because I don't want to bother people and sometimes the sound sounds terrible, stuff like that. I'm hoping for things like this. So next time that you see us there, if you've got a story that you would like to tell me and I'll grab the camera and we'll get on it and we'll get you guys in this next video. I would love it if everybody would come up and tell me their favorite Patton Avenue story. I just don't, at the end of the day, I just don't want Asheville or any of the people around here to kind of forget where they came from. You know, the automotive, hot rod, racing car hub that Asheville used to be. Let's not forget that. Let's not let it just be what it is today, because I think that right there is a big problem in of itself. If you just let things change and not try and remember kind of where you came from and stuff, that's a bad deal. And so I think that it's really important for us to do this. And like I said, I hope that we can kind of be those guys that helps kind of facilitate that somewhat. So next time we're up at Patton Avenue, or if we're not at Patton Avenue, if you see me out somewhere and I've got a camera, or if you see me and I don't have a camera, I've got my phone, you come up and tell me your story, I'll video it. Or if you just need to tell me, and then I can retell it if you would prefer it that way, do that. That's what I want to do. I just want to try and catalog and keep all these stories so that it's not forgotten, because there's a lot of fun and funny stories out there, and cool stories and cool cars and stuff that maybe are still out there. Maybe somebody's got something that they've had in their basement for a long time that they haven't brought out. And if our videos can be a reason for you to, you know, wipe the dust off that thing, or maybe just stab a motor back into it and get it back going and get it out, that would make my day. It would absolutely make mine and Dad's day both if we hear stuff like that. We appreciate everybody that's watched. Hit that subscribe button. Again, if you like this drone footage and some of the stuff that you've seen here, Colin, the Daily Misfire, go follow his pages on Instagram and Facebook, and then make sure to hit subscribe for him as well on his channel. Like I said, you're going to be seeing him more and more because we're hanging out and we're going to do more and more stuff together as we go along here. So you don't want to miss out on anything, and we'll try and keep it kind of collected between the two of our channels for the most part. Again, come tell us some stories. Let's kind of make this happen. Tales of Patton Avenue. I don't know. We'll name it something. And then next time, we'll hopefully have even more to put into a video, and we'll just keep this going for as long as we've got stories, because I honestly think there's enough Patton Avenue stories out there to last a lifetime. So we appreciate you guys. Hit subscribe, follow us on social media, and we'll see you next week.